World of Warcraft's housing is about to take the genre by storm. Their frequent and clear communication about it has been reassuring to say the least, and the actual execution of housing blows my wildest expectations out of the water from everything that we have seen. But now it's time to finally learn about the one remaining X factor. How is the neighborhood system going to work and function? And people, we have a new post. Okay, so here's the situation. Blizzard uploaded an entire blog post detailing what's happening with neighborhoods for World of Warcraft housing. I haven't read it yet, but let's read ahead and react to it together. WoW housing, it's only neighborly. There's absolutely going to be an NPC called like Mr. Roger or something. They have to make that reference. Welcome home, adventurers. Or in this case, welcome to the neighborhood, adventurers. So far in our series of articles, we've shared information on our philosophy, decorating, and rewards for housing in World of Warcraft. But it's time to bring you into the neighborhood. Briefly mentioned in our first post on housing, let's get into the nitty-gritty of what neighborhoods are and how they work. Before we dive into things, our usual disclaimers apply. Neighborhoods are a work in progress, so names, images, numbers, timing, and more may change between now and when housing is released. Our goal in sharing this ahead of time is to get your feedback, so please let us know what you think. This land is your land. As a quick refresher, homes in World of Warcraft are separated into two, not one, not three, but two neighborhood zones. Founders Point for the Alliance, and Razorwind Shores for the Horde. Each neighborhood is made up of roughly 50 plots of the same size, all of which contain a house. We want players with different preferences for locations to find a plot that's perfect for them, be they vibe-based or looking for something for a specific character. Some plots are placed far away from everything for the hermits among us, while others are grouped together in small cul-de-sacs of 2 to 3 houses, perfect for a small group of friends. Already really liking the sound of the variety in where you can actually have your house in these neighborhoods. Already a really cool direction. Other houses are in larger groupings for folks looking for more hustle and bustle. Similarly, there's a variety of biomes in each zone, ranging from Founders Point, spooky forest, and autumnal farmland to the lush oases and windswept bluffs and Razorwind Shores. In both neighborhoods, you'll find a dynamic central hub area full of NPC activity and endeavors. Keep reading. An important consideration for us, and one of the reasons these zones are so big, is we want to give players ample space, partly because having a yard that you can decorate really lets people express themselves, but also because we wanted to make sure there is enough room between plots that players don't run afoul of each other's yards. You won't have to worry about your neighbor's old growth tree jutting through your delicately constructed hedge maze. So you can make a hedge maze, which implies you can make a maze. That sounds like it'd be really cool for just community-generated content. Imagine the wacky minigames you could actually make just with the housing system in the neighborhoods, if you can do stuff like that. Dude, this place looks pretty. Oh my god, these screenshots look nice. I love how you can just get a house in what looks like Duskwood. I love the house near the waterfall as well. Ooh, I am really liking the aesthetic variety here. I know a lot of people, myself included to some degree, were a bit concerned about how limiting the aesthetic of just having the two zones could be. This is quite cool, I like it, for especially an initial step for housing. Because you gotta imagine down the line they're gonna add more zones to stuff like this, and more neighborhoods to explore. Let's move on to the next section. Housing organizations in Azeroth. HOA, oh god. It's not just a question of where you choose to live, but who you choose to live near that's important. And don't worry, there aren't actually any HOAs here, unless players choose to implement them. Imagine getting fined by another player in World of Warcraft. Neighborhoods are persistent, so anyone you live near will be a neighbor forevermore, making this decision important. Though you can move at any time, so don't worry too too much, this allows your neighborhood to be customized, and you can work with other players to progress it together. There are two types of neighborhoods. Public neighborhoods. These are created as needed by the game servers, and anyone can buy a house in them. As they fill up, new instances are created, so players looking for a house shouldn't see a message about all the neighborhoods being full. Public neighborhoods are run by the game as well, including naming it with a semi-procedurally generated name, organizing endeavors again see below, and keeping the neighborhood running however is needed. It does feel like a bit of a subtle jab over at Final Fantasy XIV with its housing system and the limitations therein. Private neighborhoods. These are created and owned by players, either by guilds as guild neighborhoods or by arbitrary groups of players as charter neighborhoods. I like that they allow both. To create and maintain a private neighborhood, there's a minimum number of players, not characters, who must be in the guild or charter, as well as, eventually, a minimum number of players who must live in the neighborhood. This is due to technical concerns around server and database performance, as neighborhoods are significantly more complicated than a simple instance. Okay, makes sense to me. Guild and charter neighborhoods have largely the same functionality. They can be named by their owners, and the names do not have to be unique, though they do have delimiters to differentiate them from one another. Players control who can live in them. For guilds, this is via the guild roster. If a guild removes someone, the player will also be removed from the neighborhood. Charters have manual control over who can live there via a special UI. I wonder how that will work if someone puts a bunch of time into that house and making that house and customizing it. If they just get booted from their guild, is there a way that they can transfer the house they made to another neighborhood so they don't have to like go through all the effort of making it all over again? Or is the guild leader just coming in with like a backhoe and a sledgehammer to destroy all your precious memories? There's a permission system for who can control the settings, membership, etc. Managing endeavors is the responsibility of the owner and managers. There is one big difference, however, between guild and charter neighborhoods. Guild neighborhoods will have homes available for everyone in a guild through additional attached instances, regardless of the guild's size, while charters are limited to the maximum number of plots in a neighborhood. So if like a streamer wanted to make a charter neighborhood, they can only go to the maximum number of plots in that singular instance of a neighborhood, whereas if you're in the same guild, your only limitation is how many people are actually in the guild. If that's part of the actual horde neighborhood, that looks way more lush than I thought it was going to be. You can actually see some kind of like spire building in the background there, hidden behind the trees. There's also something over here as well. Quick, zoom, enhance. Got a river right next to the house. I can imagine, especially if you're like something like a blood elf, having a house look like an orcish settlement might be a little bit off-putting, but I'm imagining that's stuff that will be augmented down the line. Again, these images from these neighborhoods look really good to me, just in terms of the overall fidelity of them, and the way these assets actually look. Again, going back to how visually diverse each of these instances seemingly are, I think especially if you're going to be rather limiting in where you can actually construct your house, environment-wise, with these initial neighborhoods, having some sort of visual variety within these zones is a must. So I'm glad they're going in that direction. Don't you be my neighbor? Two questions that we've gotten a number of times that we want to quickly answer. 1. What happens if I don't like my neighbors / neighborhood? We've designed this to be frictionless and straightforward, so you can just get up and move. You can choose to relinquish a house at any time, at which point your house's state will be saved, ready to be unpacked with a click when you purchase a new house elsewhere. Love that. Okay, they addressed my previous concern in this video right with that. You just pack it up and take it with you. I'm glad we're going with the Patrick Star. You know, his method is legendary. What if we took Bikini Bottom and pushed it somewhere else? Yeah, if I don't like my neighbor because he's a jabroni, why don't I just like take my house and push it somewhere else? Makes sense to me. Buddy, we're fighting a Void Lord in the next patch. I'm pretty sure I can move a house. At which point your house's state will be saved, ready to be unpacked with a click when you purchase a new house elsewhere. When you move out, there's a regret timer started, so if you change your mind before purchasing a new house, you can move right back in. Oh, that Walk of Shame has to be legendary. Especially if it's in like a guild neighborhood, right? The Walk of Shame back to your old plot just to plop your house back down as if nothing happened. Once you buy a new place or the timer elapses, your old house will go back up for sale and another player can buy it. It's worth calling out that if you are evicted from a private neighborhood, your house is also packed up too. Love to hear that. Interested about sale though. Do these houses actually cost gold as is going to be a gold sink? Can I farm a video by saying housing is pay to win because I can just buy a WoW token? Time will tell. 2. Can people just walk into my yard/house? Well, it depends. We want your house to be your space and for you to feel safe, but also recognize that some people are more social. Yeah, but this is World of Warcraft, right? To that end, both your plot and your house have independent permissions that can be set to allow or deny friends, guildmates, neighbors, or anyone. This lets you, for example, allow anyone onto your plot, but only friends and guildmates inside. Of course, these permissions can be changed at any time. If you want to make it private for a book club meeting in the afternoon and then open it up for a dance party at night, these permissions are frequently checked. So, if you do change them, it will remove anyone whose permissions are no longer valid. Really like the idea of that. I'm glad they're kind of leaning in the direction of allowing these places to be RP event worthy, right? Like, if you want to have a book club, somehow, you can do that. If you want to have a dance party, for whatever reason, do that. I love the fact that they are leaning into the idea of allowing the community to hold their own events and to generate our own content when it comes to housing. I think that can always be one of the sleeper hits when it comes to our housing system in an MMORPG. Allow it to be the grease in the cogs of social interaction. Allow it to just exist and give players the tools to interface with other players if they so wish to. Really like the look of that and the sound of it. This is the part where we talk about endeavors, and for some reason, I suspect they're not talking about My Hero Academia. Endeavors are a neighborhood-wide activity open to anyone who lives in the neighborhood. Endeavors occur approximately once a month, and when a new endeavor becomes available, the neighborhood is provided with the opportunity to learn from various cultures and factions of Azeroth by completing different tasks. Players in private neighborhoods can choose from a selection of endeavors, though occasionally a set endeavor appears to highlight things happening in the world. Oh, I really like the sound of that. Be able to convey some things happening in the story with the housing system. In public neighborhoods, the game servers are responsible for choosing which endeavors are active. Each endeavor has a group of tasks that are collectively completed by the neighborhood. As tasks are completed, more NPCs from that area show up, making various themed decorations available to the neighborhood inhabitants or even visiting players from other neighborhoods. Oh, so if your neighborhood doesn't have the one event you want, you can just go to someone else's, and so long as the decorations are available, you can just get them. I really like what they're doing here. A lot of this just sounds like smart design to me. And in a lot of ways, with a lot of these design choices, like this for instance, it feels to me like the old Blizzard would just tell you, wait for the endeavor in your neighborhood, and you would just be locked out of the other neighborhoods and their rewards, or something like that. That just doesn't need to exist, though. This sounds better to me. And the neighborhood changes visually to be decorated in that faction's fashion. The number of tasks required scales with neighborhood size, so a 50-player neighborhood will have to complete more tasks than a 10-player neighborhood. Similarly, if a neighborhood is less active, future endeavors for the neighborhood will also scale their requirement down to accommodate. I think this sounds really cool. I can already tell there are going to be some people that are upset that the aesthetic is altered anyway, because they may view that to like ruin their vibe, but so long as it doesn't affect like the plot itself and ruin anyone's like vision for how they want their house to look and feel, and it's only just like this endeavor area, even though that may look a little bit goofy from a distance, distance. I think it's a cool idea and a way to allow the neighborhood to feel as if it's this living, breathing location in a world. Depending upon how they pull this off, this sounds like it's really smart to me. You can see on the left here, there's no Endeavor activated, and it's just a little campsite, but the Vel'Shara Endeavor has the twisted, gnarled trees growing from these various locations, and an overall darker filter on the screen. The tasks themselves run the gamut of gameplay, from crafting to gathering to questing to completing dungeons or raids. We want there to always be a way for any given player to contribute to the endeavor, regardless of how they choose to engage with World of Warcraft. Good, I really like the sound of that. It allows players that want to focus primarily on housing as their main form of content to have stuff they can go after, whereas if people still care about a house, but they don't want to be in there 24/7 and they just want to play the rest of the game, they can still contribute to the overall neighborhood by playing the game the way they want to play it. Again, really smart design in my opinion. We'll need to see how it's executed overall, but this sounds really good. Successfully completing tasks not only yields rewards expected from that sort of tasks gameplay, but also grants a new type of endeavor currency, which is shared across all endeavors, as well as neighborhood favor. Neighborhood favor is used to level up your house and earn rewards, while the endeavor currency is used to buy decorations from the visiting NPCs in either your neighborhood or in your friend's neighborhood. Ah, okay. So it's essentially a renown track, at least in terms of execution. Level 3 unlocks like a bed, get like a birdhouse at number 6. Number 7 gets you increased decor limit, tables and desks, small light, and seating. This seems like a really interesting way to get a bunch of variety for decorations. And if there's one aesthetic you really care about and that you like, if that endeavor comes up, you can just grind it out and get a bunch of stuff for it, or save up for it. Again, this sounds cool to me, especially for long-term progression. This really does look as if this is something that if you really fall in love with it, this can be your main chase in World of Warcraft. And I love the fact that WoW is trying stuff like this. Once enough tasks have been completed in an endeavor, the entire neighborhood is rewarded together with bonus endeavor currency and neighborhood favor, as well as the ability to purchase all the decorations at the NPC, provided players have sufficient currency. And going back to what they said before, if you just simply don't have enough players to fill out the entire endeavor, next time around, the endeavor will scale down based on your performance. It keeps the feeling of failure states alive, but it doesn't screw you long-term out of rewards if this is what you really like and you're just in a neighborhood without a lot of people in it. Our goals for endeavors are threefold: to give the neighborhood a common goal to rally around and be rewarded for it collectively. It feels good to complete things together, and we want to encourage both synchronous and asynchronous play with your neighbors. 2. To give neighborhoods a choice in how things are visually presented on a larger scale, not just in individual player-owned plots. 3. Introduce some asymmetry between neighborhoods to make visiting other neighborhoods more interesting. Yeah, these are things not everyone is going to care about, but it adds flavor and texture, and I think that's something a system like this needs. It doesn't look or feel like just another housing system. This feels like an entire new mode to play World of Warcraft. Again, every time they talk more about housing or they show more about housing, it blows me away by just how smart the design is overall. Like, the only thing that I kind of disagree on is the idea of having unique items where you can only place one of a specific thing. I just think, even though that item may be rare, that can be limiting for overall creativity. But like, everything else to me is like a home run. This sounds really dang good. Time to get out of town. This is just the start of what we're planning for neighborhoods and endeavors. Having a large-scale, persistent multiplayer space and the ability for players to collectively contribute to it is truly exciting for us, and we can't wait to build on it with you. What do you find most exciting? Keep the feedback coming, and we'll see you next time. Blows me away this is actually in World of Warcraft and coming to World of Warcraft. Like, it feels almost too good to be true. Like, I played WoW during the bad times. If you had asked me any time before like a year and a half ago, do you think WoW could do housing? I'd be like, no, it would be like a monkey's paw situation where you would get housing, but it just wouldn't be to the scale or give you the functionality a system like that really needs to thrive. To me, this is crazy, especially for a game like World of Warcraft. And with the way they've been talking about expanding on housing in the future and it being evergreen content, I can only imagine the excitement people would have when they eventually do neighborhoods based on like Night Elf and Blood Elf aesthetics. And the way that so many people, myself included, are going to be looking forward to new patches when they come out, not just for the content in those patches, but for what those patches bring into the game for housing. They've already talked about introducing new housing items for each patch based on whatever that patch's aesthetic is. That's a really cool mechanism to further incentivize the content in that patch and to make it feel special. I know a lot of times when it comes to World of Warcraft, us as players can be like conditioned to believe that always is a downside, or as if everything is a double-edged sword. This to me just largely looks good, and like any complaints that I could possibly have for this system feel so minor in comparison to all the good that it's bringing into the game. I cannot wait for when housing is fully implemented into World of Warcraft. And if you want to stick around for when that happens, make sure to leave a like and subscribe on this video if you want to see more content and to be updated on the future news in the state of World of Warcraft. Follow me on TikTok, Twitch, and Twitter, Jmulls G. I have a Discord in the description down below. Leave a comment down below with your thoughts, your opinions on World of Warcraft's housing and the neighborhood system. Are you looking forward to it? Are you worried about something? What are you most looking forward to? Or what are you most worried about? I'd love to hear your thoughts and hear your opinions and hear your perspectives. And while housing looks absolutely phenomenal, there's another feature they added to World of Warcraft that, in my opinion, is amazing conceptually and has so much potential, but it's at a crossroads. Check out this video that I made to learn more. Bye bye everybody, until we meet again.